morning, Liz. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Actually, I've never been better.
Never been better. And I am
Never been
sensational.
better. I
I
love
am
it.
sensational. I didn't feel sensational last week. And thankfully, we didn't have to film last week.
I know.
And then
We're
I
going to
did,
talk. We'll
or,
talk about that after too. I know you had a
yeah,
hard week.
it's a
We haven't had
crappy
a
week.
chance to catch up, so we're going to do that too.
Oh, great. Okay, so today we're going to talk about put the town voices in their place in your book, Navigating Shitstorms. You say here, is my heart voice wanting to protect me from criticism, or is it a town voice trying to hold me back? So I think part of this chapter is, well, why don't you describe what part of this chapter is? This chapter to me is different ways of giving us strategies to help us move back into our heart voice when we've slipped into Victimtown. Oh, that's a really good segue for my shit that I put myself through last week. But can you just chat with us a little bit of, you know, how do you know sometimes? Sometimes actually I do find it hard
Yeah,
if I'm like, am I being egotistical or am I being confident?
right? Well, it's
Right?
complicated. Life is complicated and our feelings are complicated and the voices in our head are very crafty and sometimes that shitty voice that's based in fear can disguise itself and it can take not it can it does it takes practice and it takes time and we all get a little bit better at it as we move through life, if that's what we intend to do, if that's what we're interested in doing. And this chapter presents some suggestions and in a little bit more of a how-to-y, self-helpy kind of way. And they're not hard and fast, you know. Every one of us and our journeys is a little bit different. And there's some things that people can try on and see how they feel. And that's the most important thing is try things to see how they feel, how they work for you. And if you like them and they seem to be helping, then do more. And if they don't, then they're either not for you or not for you at this time. And it's all okay.
Yeah.
It's all okay. So some of the things I've suggested are different trips and tips, if you will, to first become aware of the voices in our head and to reflect and kind of analyze, if you will, what the motivation is, because there's only two foundational motivations: love and fear.
Right.
And that's sometimes a little, you know, where it's a little bit tricky to sort out. And the biggest tip, if you will, that has worked for me has been to sometimes just sit with it for a little bit and to tune into my body and and what does it feel like? What does it feel like? So if I'm, for example, if I'm trying to make a decision, you know, should I do this or should I do that? One of the things that I do, and this isn't even in my book, is to envision how would it play out? What would it be like if I did that? You know, just run a little movie in my head. And a lot of it I'm making up because it's futuristic, but you know, what would it look like in my head if this is the way I went? And then how does that feel? Does that feel scary? Does that feel fun? Does it feel reassuring? Is it exciting? Um, and then the same for the other way. And sometimes for me that's enough to for me to make the discernment as to which way I want to go or which story, because they're all stories that we make up in our head, which story I want to stick with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Right.
love that. I love that. And I notice you are very good at making decisions, even big decisions, um, and then just going with it. And I will tend to ruminate more and then get stuck on it and then I can move into feeling paralyzed, right? And so it's been really fun watching you do that.
Well, we're all different, and
Mhm.
and sometimes those decisions have different stakes, different implications, right? Um, when we make a decision and move forward, if it totally fucking blows up, or it doesn't feel good, or it doesn't turn out the way we had hoped or thought it would, then we just make an adjustment and do something different, right?
Yeah, there's no guarantee either way
No,
anyway, right? So you
we
might as well
never
just
know.
do whatever
Yeah,
to do
nobody
what brings you
knows.
pleasure.
Well, yeah, I mean, you do, everybody makes decisions and does the best that they can with the resources they have available in that moment, right? And our resources include our time, our money, our material things, yes, but our resources also include our heart voice power. I mean, that is our number one resource. And if our heart voice power is low, then we're not equipped to make the best decisions for us that are possible, right? So that's why keeping our heart voice power levels high is so important. You know, maybe we're tired or depleted or worried or whatever else, right?
Yeah, you have an acronym, the HALT acronym in there. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
Tired.
Those
Yeah.
are good
Yeah.
ones too. I mean, we do that when you're a parent to a little child, you kind of automatically go through that. But when you're 50, you don't tend to go, am I hungry? Am I lonely? Am I
Right.
lonely? Am I
Yeah.
lonely?
Yeah, we forget about those things, and it's a foundational one that a lot of mental health places promote and talk about. It's absolutely not my IP, but it's a good reminder because they're basic things, right? And we forget sometimes because it's simple, but it's foundational, and
Mhm.
sometimes all it takes is a nap to
Yeah.
figure things out, or to refill ourselves to the level where we have the confidence to rally to deal with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And
Absolutely. And so when the voice starts looping, how do you interrupt the voice other than nap? And, are there other ways that you have done it? Like I'm thinking of the other day, the cat day, the last episode, we talked about the cat fiasco in your condo. You went to Bucerius then for the day. And then on the way home, your pedal fell off and your chain was almost breaking. And I thought, this is not an easy fix. I mean, if that was me and I was at home, my husband would just fix it for me, easy peasy. You're in Mexico and you gotta then get it. Oh, that crap. Like, how did you handle that?
yeah.
Was the heart voice speaking to you when the pedal was coming off and you're like,
Well, actually, it was kind of funny, and but and the one of the first things, and this was my heart voice showing up, one of the first things that popped into my mind was this. So on the way there, it's almost entirely level, and there's a couple places where it's downhill, which means that on the way home, there's a couple places where it's uphill. And the bike I purchased is a very basic bike, and it has 0 gears. So it is pedal power only. So for me
oh,
to navigate those uphill parts, I have to stand up on my bike. I have to stand up to pedal with all my weight hard, so I don't have to get off my bike and walk up. And took a few times to practice and get my leg strength up. Now I can get home without stopping. And when this happened, it literally was about 10 yards before where I was going to stand up and start pedaling. And had it, so I was sitting on my seat when the pedal fell off. Had I been standing up pedaling, it would have been really fucking bad. I would have done a face plant into my metal handlebars, and might have broken my teeth and cut my face. Like and so I actually was almost instantly grateful. I was like, whoa, 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 I dodged a bullet. Thank God this happened when it did, because literally 15 seconds later, it could have been a lot worse. And I also was only a 10-minute walk back to B's studio. And I mean, I wasn't going to walk my bike all the way home. It just, I was so tired that wasn't going to happen. So I took my bike back and I laughed about it, told the story. We laughed our heads off. We sat and shot the shit and had a cold drink, and I hung out for another hour.
Oh, really?
I did.
Fun.
Did. Had some connection and laughs, and then I called a cab and went home. So, and my bike right now is at the bike shop getting fixed.
And do you feel irritated that it had to go back to the bike shop? Like there must be emotions that are around that too. I mean, and I know it sounds like I'm like, why is she picking at this? But like everything leads to something else, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is the
And it's a
thought
good
process of
question.
that? And then how are you dealing with that? Because isn't this not the third time? I thought you got it
Oh,
adjusted a
yeah.
second time,
No,
right?
I've had
So,
to have a whole new bike. So
all
yeah,
right.
a young part-time lad assembled it for me because I
Mhm.
don't have a man or person in my life to do that kind of assembly, and I'm not really inclined that way, and I don't have any
Mhm.
tools. The
Mhm.
first bike I got had a bent back wheel, and so it was wobbling, and I had to take it back and got a different one, which is this one. And yes, it has problems too. And so irritated. No, I could have been. I Beatrice, when I went back, Beatrice said, "Oh my gosh, I know this amazing bike shop and I need to take my bike in for a tune-up. I haven't ridden it in a couple of years, but I want to get it back on the road. And they have a pickup truck. I'm happy to throw yours in with mine in the back, and I will take it to this bike shop. I know these guys. They're really awesome." And I felt incredibly grateful to have made that connection and received that help. And that's sometimes not easy for us to do, receive help. Because this is my first year spending some time down here, and I don't have the connections or know the shops, and I don't speak the language. So
Mhm.
sometimes it's a little more arduous for me to source those things out. And I thought, great, now I've got a bike shop. And she sent me the contact information. I hope to be able to go with her to pick it up so that I can also meet them and thank them. Um, so so now I have that resource available.
Oh, that's so amazing. I'm not going to get into it, but I want to go on a diet. I want to go on like on another path here about like how awesome it is that you met Beatrice and all the amazing
Oh,
synchronicities and stuff. But here's the thing I
yes.
want to circle back to is had the pedal fallen off and you chose to listen to Victimtown voice, uh, you probably would have gone back to Beatrice's in a state of anger to some extent, right? Like, oh, F that, effing bike. I can't believe the stupid person that didn't do it properly. Now I'm inconvenienced and I got a da 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 da. But instead, you didn't do all that. And partly because of that, you keep yourself open to be open to, okay, and now Beatrice has an idea and now it's going to benefit Beatrice as well. And.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's fascinating because when we look at page 163, you talk about here and now. And, our heart voice will confirm that right here, right now, everything is okay.
Yeah.
Like it is okay.
Yeah. I was fine. I didn't hurt
Yeah.
myself. And I was pretty close to be able to turn around and walk my bike back and have a safe place to leave it. I wasn't really further inconvenienced. So
Mhm, mhm.
right here, right now, yeah, my pedal's off, and yeah, the sprocket thing's all loose, and there may be a few other little things that need to be fixed. And it's all good.
And it's all good.
Yeah.
And it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to make another point and it totally slipped my mind. I have
Oh my
no
gosh, that
idea.
happens to me all the time. It's a dementia aging thing. I don't know. And we are not alone. All of my friends, we laugh about the same thing. We walk into a room and look around and think, what the fuck? I came in here for something. Um, And almost all the time it'll pop back into our head.
Yeah. One of the teachers that I like says that you've changed not when your circumstances change, but you've changed in that or that your response to the circumstance has changed, right? And so
Yeah.
when I'm presented with something that's irritating and I move through it more quickly or not, easily, just easily, or I might have a hiccup, but I bounce back more quickly.
Yeah.
I do take that moment to say to myself, like, okay, you're getting there. You're getting there. Like in
Good.
patting myself on the back. And I think
Yeah, that's
that
important.
self-acknowledgement and that kind of thing is important. I gotta
It
encourage
is.
myself because I don't have a mommy encouraging me anymore.
But that encourages our own heart voice. It encourages, it raises our power. And
Mhm.
I mean, nobody learns a lesson overnight and then is like 110% there.
Mhm.
The universe gives us chances to practice it and provides opportunities to test it.
Yeah.
And we get a little bit better every time we do that. And our automatic responses don't get rewired immediately. It
Yeah.
takes it takes some practice. It
Yeah.
takes some opportunities and chances. So so those things that happen are our chances to pat ourselves on the back for shifting our response and recognizing it a little bit quicker, or before we took the next step A, B, and C that time. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I love that. I
good for
love that.
you.
Yeah. I think, presence is a big thing, right? Because I know with anxiety, especially, we're just in the future and like how, if I make this decision, how will I have that decision come to fruition kind of thing? Not the worry of it all, right? And presence allows us to just focus on the here and now. Our mind is not meant to figure out how something is going to happen.
Yep.
It's only meant to deal with this moment,
Yes.
right? And usually things are working out for us anyway. And even when they're not, they do tend to work in our favor.
Yeah.
So that faith piece is a huge thing. And for me, like training my mind to stay right here. I got a great example, and it may seem really easy to some people who are well traveled, but I'm not well traveled. And so even going to Mexico was a big deal. It was my first time on a plane alone. And stupidly, I was not stupidly, but I was dropped off at one airport and picked up at the other airport. So I just had to navigate an airport.
That's okay.
But
Yeah.
like I'm in Toronto, like Pearson's a pretty big airport, and there's all these things happening, and they told me one gate, and they just happened to change the gate without letting anybody know, right? And I figured it out all by myself. How are you even supposed to know that you're supposed to check that there might be a gate change? Like, how are you supposed to know these things?
Well,
So
you don't know things until you know them, right? You can't.
exactly,
And
exactly,
we all learn
exactly.
at different times.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I was
Yeah.
dropped off, when I got in the first line, there was a couple in front of me, and I said, like, "Am I in the right line? This is my first time traveling," and we were all going to the same place. And then the husband wanted to tell me some tips about Mexico, and then he's like, "Just hang around with us. We'll get you through the airport, okay?" And actually, was split up with them, and then met them again near the end. And there was a few other people around, and I was chatting with them, and after you dropped me off, no, after I took the Uber back to the airport on my way out, when I was at the gate ready waiting, one of the ladies from my group in Toronto was there, and she's like, "Hey, how are you? How was your trip?" And I'm
Oh,
like,
that's awesome.
"Look at that." So normally, like, I remember sitting at home before I left going, "What did I do? Why did I say yes? Now I have to go in an airplane. Now I have to do things that feel uncomfortable. What if I don't like Liz? What if, and there's the what ifs, right? What if I don't like what if we get into a fight? What if
Oh,
something
the what if
let's
mind can drive us absolutely crazy.
and I
And
had moments
yeah,
of that, right?
we all
So
do.
and when
Yeah.
you get into the what ifs, like you do talk about this in your book, right? Like how do you suggest to handle the what ifs?
Well, again, everybody's going to do this in their own way. Um, I can reframe it fairly quickly now to a what if this turns out to be so amazing? What if this exceeds my wildest expectations. And the thing about the what ifs is there's no end to them. And when we look back, when we have those what if scenarios in our head and we worry, and then we go through it, and then we come out of the situation and we remember the what if conversation we had in our head, and we think, what a colossal waste of time that worrying was, right? We never know exactly how things are going to go or how things are going to turn out. And when we can trust that whatever happens, we'll figure it out when it happens, is just it I find it extremely reassuring and comforting. And then the next level is to, how I phrase it is, trust in all outcomes. And when we can trust in all outcomes, even the ones that bring us pain or that are really challenging or really hard, when we trust that those are presented to us for our highest purpose, either to test us in a lesson we thought we might have already learned, or to present an opportunity for us to learn a new lesson, that in some way it is meant for us, without getting too spiritual here, then it just eliminates all worry. Because then we don't have to even worry about figuring it out, that it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
It's all good. It's all good.
Like, it really is
It
all
is. It is.
good.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's a choice about perspective.
Yeah. I
And
love that.
that choice to me feels good. And it's based in love for myself and for the universe and for humanity. And that feels good. And I choose to live from that perspective. And the other is fear and expecting problems and expecting the worst and being afraid. And that feels horrible, and it feels anxiety. And I don't like to feel that.
Love that. I love that. Well, I think it's a perfect place to end. Yeah. Anymore. I love that. Thank you so much, Liz. I appreciate sitting down with you and chatting with you about this chapter.
It was a great combo as always, Carolyn Shantz.
Yes. Thank you. Take care. Have a good day.
You too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.